Um, as Favor clearly mentioned, my name is Fumi Adedeji Bajulaya, certified AFCTA trade advisor and the president of ACR Global. So this session is supposed to be a very engaging workshop because I'm talking to an audience of very, very knowledgeable people in the area of investments and understanding assets. All I'm doing today is presenting before you an alternative asset for you to get higher returns from your investment. Favor, do you want me to ask where people are joining from, or I should just go ahead straight into the conversation?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Would you like me to ask where people are joining from, or you want
Yes,
me to go
please.
ahead into the conversation? Okay.
Anyone is fine.
So
Yeah.
while we are starting up the conversation now, I would be so grateful if each person can in the chat session tell us your name, where you're joining from, and why would you join this session today? What did you see that was exciting? What did you see that caught your attention and said to you, I want more information? It'll really, really help Favor and myself so that we can ensure that the conversation is curated for you in the room today. So as the title suggested, we want to present before you franchising as an investment class in Africa. Now, when you hear the word franchising, what comes to our mind in Africa is simply the opportunity to bring in global franchises into our space on the continent. And this has been the age-old conversation, the conversation that I meant. We are suggesting by this thinking that the brands in other parts of the world have been proven, tested, we trust their methods, and we'll be excited to put our funds and expand their reach into our continent. But we started in 2012 as an organization to actually look into structures that will affect our macroeconomy. What we do as ACR Global is that we help large organizations, right, through the franchising business module. And then we work with qualified clients who will work with our team of international consultants to optimize their teams. And then we'll also link them with our global franchise investors. And by this, they can build a global franchise brand that can penetrate several markets. We decided to actually go on this journey at 6.0, and that was in 2024 when we spiraled from impacting the labor market directly and started working with business owners to see how they can expand their organization so we can have much more job creation. We started this conversation about inorganic methods of expansion for organizations. We considered franchising, mergers, and acquisitions. In 2024, we were invited by Saudi Arabia to bring in fact, to come and showcase our franchise brands and trade with the Saudi Arabian market. It was at this point of the conversation we realized that we hadn't done our homework on the continent. We were relying too much, not only on the the importation from other countries and continents, but we're also relying on their franchise moves. And so we went to work to begin to look at how we can curate our own homegrown franchises. And in doing this, we gave birth to our subsidiary CEO Joint Board, which was an insight, information, and capacity building arm because the problem with the continent in terms of franchising was not a capacity. It's not that we are unable to. It's not that we don't have the structures. We went ahead to interview franchise owners from Lebanon, from the Caribbean islands, from different parts of the world. And I found that, look, these guys, we can do much better than them. Just plain and simple. In terms of structure, we're more resilient, but we were just not putting franchising on the conversation. We also found out some of the challenges that were a deterrent to having our brands move from one branch to five branches into We're talking about a McDonald's that has 1,000 branches globally. And this is the work that we have been doing as an organization since inception. Now, what we would, one second, I think my slide. Okay. So, yes. So the focus of the conversation today is to present to you what we call the workhorses. So our investors, especially in ABAN, we had some conversations, I think two weeks ago with Lan, right? And they were talking about how every investor wants to get a unicorn. And now we're saying to you as investors today that beyond a unicorn, they're the workhorses. And these are franchise modules, which are proven modules that have worked in other countries that you can put your money in, and you're sure that the organization is a less risky asset than a startup. So why are we on this journey today, and why Africa? I'm going to go through some stats, but I want to check in the chat session to make sure that you are responding, because we have to ensure you can hear and you're connecting with us. So if you're just joining, please tell us your name in the chat section, where you're joining from, and what you expect to get from this class today, or from this masterclass. Now, we looked at Africa as a continent and found out the opportunities. The story, most times we hear the gaps in Africa, but today the story is different. We want to talk to you about the latent opportunities that you can take advantage of on the continent. What are the stats? African franchise sector is projected to hit $150 billion by the end of 2026. Because we started this wave of conversations, like I said, in 2024 when we started, there were not a lot of conversations around franchises. The franchise associations had not started. And then post the conversations, you have a pickup in Morocco, you have a pickup in South Africa, actually were the oldest in the game. You have a pickup in Tunisia, and businesses are beginning to consider franchise as a module. So the stats are that this is an economy that will hit $150 billion. The growth delta in Africa, we have 4.2% GDP growth versus the EU, which is 1.1%, and the Middle East, 2.9%. I'm singing to the choir because as investors in ABAN, you do understand that Africa is the mecca for investment today. Urbanization in Lagos, Nairobi, Cairo are adding up 1 million franchise-ready consumers annually. It means that our consumers understand franchising. It's just the producers who are still from outside of our continent. By 2026, the AfCFTA has finally begun to harmonize trade. This means that a franchise bride in Nairobi can now more easily scale to Kigali or Addis. So these are the opportunities that we're sitting on right now. So key insights, right? The aging population in Europe with African median is age 18. So we're investing, you aren't just investing in a store, you're investing in a lifelong consumption habits of one of the world's largest emerging middle class. So most of the consumers of franchises are the younger generation and the middle class, and a lot of them are housed with us in Africa. So this is why it's exciting today that we're thinking franchising in Africa. Now, if we are speaking generically about franchising, we might not be hitting home, because every time I start up this conversation in the different rooms I've been and talking about franchising, the next question I ask is, what industries are we considering? And so today I wanted to drill into just about 5 industries where franchises can be developed in Africa, and look at what they're doing, returns on investment in other parts of the world. So we're going to be discussing franchising in the QSR section, health and wellness, beauty and personal care, education, and of course, our darling tech. So in the QSR in Europe, you're looking at 8 to 12% returns on investment, right? And in Africa, even the international brands are reporting 22 to 30% return on investment net. Health and wellness, you're looking at 18 to 25% returns on investment. In Europe, 10 to 14%. Why? Because we have the population and our consumers are more and actually more excited to buy in Africa. Beauty and personal, when we drill into each of the sectors, we see how well we're doing in beauty and personal and the gaps that you have here. So you have 25 to 35% returns on investment in beauty in the African economy. In Europe, 12 to 15%. Education, you know that the biggest buyers of education in the world are in Africa. And the returns on investment here, again, are 15 to 22% and 6 to 9% in Europe. And then for the tech industry, 20 to 28% in Africa and 10 to 12% in Europe. So we're benchmarking how we're doing versus the European market. So in Africa, the failure of small businesses is rarely due to demand. It's due to lack of supply chain collapse and lack of SOP. The argument is that a franchise produces a business in the box that includes prevented suppliers. You're buying the right to skip the first 1,000 mistakes that an entrepreneur usually makes. Now, remember the conversation that we're having is the opportunity for us to raise our own African-grown franchises. But the model itself of franchising is proven and has worked in different parts of the world and has worked in Africa for entrepreneurs outside Africa. So the process is the same. And if we apply it in Africa, we're bound to have a lot more successful businesses where if you put your dollar in, you're most likely to get the returns. We are not saying by this, we're not supporting our startups who are non-franchises, but we're saying it's a good opportunity to diversify your portfolio. So I want to drill in a bit into the beauty and QSR industry. When we started our conversations with our partners in Saudi Arabia, they asked specifically for brands in certain industries to come and trade with them in Saudi Arabia, and beauty was certainly one of them. Now, so we have shifted and looking at the QSR trends. QSR will be quick service restaurants. We have shifted from cloud kitchen and mobile first franchises and to high frequency, low ticket sales that provide massive cash flow. So you're looking at your Chicken Republics. They're expanding quite quickly across Nigeria. These are the models that are picking up fast in the QSR region, and they are very easily franchisable. In beauty trends, the prestige to mass shift, African consumers spend a higher percentage of disposable income on personal care than Europeans. So I looked at the stat. When I read this, I just said to myself, if this conversation was being held by a European, she most likely wouldn't wear makeup like I am. So practically, we can see that we're more conscious about beauty, and it means that we can consume in this area. It also means that this is a sector that is easily franchisable. Please, if I'm going too fast or if you have a question, certainly put it in the chat section and we will attend to it. So the matrices in the beauty industry, we have compound annual growth rate in Africa of 8.5%, the highest globally. So we are consuming beauty in Africa, and that is a major investment opportunity. Why is beauty 25 to 35% higher than education? Beauty has higher frequency and lower overheads. So we're saying that not only are we asking you to franchise, we're actually suggesting some of the sectors that you can work with upcoming franchises because there's a market that have been created already by the consuming economy. So the comparison of 10% returns in London is considered good, but in Lagos or Nairobi, it doesn't even cover your inflation or currency risk. So you need the 20% plus margins that franchising provides to make the investment real. Now, this is talking about the beauty sector and how that as a beauty brand that is not taking advantage of the franchising model will not take as much returns as the one that is taking the franchising approach. There's also something called the lipstick effect theory, and this was very interesting for me. How that a lot of people consumed beauty products even during downturn and COVID. So it's a sector that is here to stay and is very, very franchisable as an investment asset. Now let's look at health and education. The health sector, private clinics, diagnostic labs are filling a 70% gap in government healthcare funding. Education, there's a shift from traditional schools to skill-based franchise centers, coding, vocational, English. So these sectors have the highest retention and recurring revenue profiles. So we're saying to you, not only are we talking to you about the opportunity to invest in franchises, we're also telling you the industries that are most likely to convert in this franchising vehicle. So in Africa, if you provide health or education, the community protects you. This is something that you should know. So it means that you have less volatility in that market when you're setting up a franchise. Again, you know that we're the largest consumers of education in the world, I would say. And this is why you have some of the international universities are now setting up, universal educational providers are now beginning to come to Lagos and other cities in Africa to set up, because this is where the market is. And these institutions are also open to franchisable module. We personally had conversations with a few as well. So again, this is an opportunity that we're calling our investors to look into for franchising. Technology and the service play. So tech franchising falls into classes like IT support, solar maintenance, fintech, agent networks. The software-driven franchises in Africa reduce labor costs by 40% compared to European counterparts. B2B services as well are in high demand for professional facility managers, as well as corporate Africa. I think that was, so as well as organizations in corporate Africa. So what we want here is to be able to provide franchises that are in the tech space. Again, I would like you to think of these franchises as coming from Africa to the world, as opposed to the world into Africa. That is the conversation we're having today. We're saying to you that in terms of the global franchise market, Africa is an emerging market. An emerging market means that we have the opportunity of the highest returns. We had a conversation with Freddie Maghato at CEO Drawing Board. This was about 3 weeks ago. And he educated us on how that South Africa has led Africa, obviously, in franchising, because when we went to do our research, we were only benchmarking against Saudi Arabia, and we found out that South Africa boomed just about 10 years ago now. And when they got their government to work with them to build the franchise ecosystem in South Africa, you're looking at 99 trillion rand in returns. And then he also mentioned that the impact on GDP is 15%. Now, and that is because they pulled a concerted effort with the Franchise Association, the government, and then fund players. This is where ABAN comes in. In fact, from what I understand in South Africa, you have your ABSAs, and then you have groups that are coming together to begin to provide funding for certified or approved franchise entrepreneurs, because it is a less risky asset and your investment will multiply locally, continentally, and then if the franchises are supported well, they will go global. So South Africa, the gold standard, 12% GDP contribution, serves as a research hub for the continent. These figures have been updated by Freddie himself, who mentioned that it's now 15%. In the Middle East, you have high entry costs for real estate-led or lower net margins, despite high revenues. So in the Middle East, where if you wanted to start up as a franchise in the Middle East, the entry costs are higher, and this was understood by their government. our friend and partner Aber, I always say that she's a me in Saudi Arabia, had successfully pulled all the players in the ecosystem together to be able to provide the support the entrepreneurs need. So you have government funding, private institution funding, and obviously investments in these franchises are not because they are particularly liked or favored by these financial institutions or partners, but because the returns are imminent. And in fact, that is why they are now having produced their own franchises, coming to trade their franchises with us in Cairo. We'll talk a bit more about the event in Cairo, which we said is an excursion for our investors who have come on this platform today. Now, Europe is heavily regulated and saturated, and there are lower growth potential. So we're looking at the regional comparison of why we chosen Africa as the emerging market central for the global franchise market. We know most of the franchise brands in Europe and even in the USA. So in fact, most of the times I'll do a sample when I'm starting up with the conversations and I'll say, do you know about franchising? What do you know about franchising and what comes to your mind? The first thing people are going to say is, oh, franchising, McDonald's, Subway, Starbucks. And so if you're starting a new franchise in that environment, that franchise is coming into a saturated market, competition is higher, and there are lower growth potentials because on every street, there's a Starbucks. On every street, there's a McDonald's, and the consumers have been trained to acquire the taste here. But the rest of Africa, we have the opportunity today to bring our own franchises to the streets of Africa from your country and to satisfy the curiosity and the appetite that has been created by our culture that has been exported, like Afrobeat. People are now interested in, oh, what is the fashion in Africa? What is the culture? Why do the ladies look so beautiful? They're asking these questions and they want whatever it is we have domesticated in their cities. This is the opportunity that opens doors to franchising. So what we would like our investors to see in front of them today is that there is a market open for African franchises in your country, continentally, and globally. We're also letting you know that you have the opportunity to be the driver of this growth as ABA. You have the opportunity to be the driver of this growth by providing the funds for the first tier franchises that will come in from us. And also you have front row seats to be able to trade franchising as an asset generally with our international partners. Now, we'll look at the master franchise agreement strategy. And this is, we'll also look more at the options that you have to invest in. I hope that we can still hear me, and I would really appreciate it if you can tell me in the comments that you understand and are following. Okay, hello Pedro, you're joining from Cape Verde. So beautiful to have you. Thank you so much. I'm just looking in the chat section to make sure that we are still connecting. If you understand, I'm not going too fast, just let me know in the comment section. Fabrica, you're joining from Gabon. Curious to see franchising as an appropriate model, even for small countries. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's such an encouragement. Okay, so the master franchise strategy is where we're going to be, where you would work with the African franchise owner now, okay, to sell his franchise according to region, most likely the country, right? And once you're doing that, you're getting return from the transactions made from the entire country. Where we're dealing with an individual startup whose vision or regional scope is local. Your investments are also localized and are not as diversified as you having the startup work in 4 or 5 countries. They could do well in one country and not do well in another country, and you're most likely earning returns from different regions. Now, the other thing is that you're going to be earning royalties from your franchises as well. So the franchise module is such that you earn from the franchise purchase itself, you earn from royalty fees, sometimes marketing fees as well. And we say to the entrepreneur, you're not the entrepreneur, but you should know this about the entrepreneur that you'll be supporting. We say to the entrepreneur, for every expansion, you have money in the bank. Whereas your standard traditional approach for expansion is every time that you're expanding, you're spending money from capex, right? So this is something that we want you to see as our potential funders for these brands that will now be made available as an asset class in ABAN. Now, what are the options that you can invest in as an angel? You have the option of an African franchise startup, and this is a medium to large organization. He has established over 10 branches, and the founder has a global mindset. So the company is already running, and now they want to go global. They want to go through the franchise process with our international consultants. They want to then have excursions with other franchise brands and see what they can cross-pollinate. And then they're going to start their own franchise and start trading. So you have that option as an asset class. You also have the African established franchise. So the established tier 2 to 3 African franchise, and you're talking about brands like Spur, Nando's, Debonair's. You want to fund their further expansion and the fund support for incoming qualified franchisees. So these are maybe African entrepreneurs who want to buy, and I'm going to use examples so that I can drill the conversation home. An African entrepreneur wants to buy a Nando's franchise, for instance, or a Debonair's franchise, or a ShopRite franchise, and requires funding to buy into this structure that is doing very well. So this is another asset opportunity for you to look into. And then you have the Africa Master Franchisee. This is an entrepreneur who wants to buy the regional rights to run the franchise in a country, right? And they could be buying the rights for the franchise from either an African-owned franchise or an international franchise. So for instance, when we go to Cairo, of course, some of our investors that are coming in, some franchise owners are coming in from the Middle East, from Europe, from America. When our investors are there, they either could be interested in buying the master franchise, or they're supporting an entrepreneur who wants to buy the master franchise and run these proven models. So we're sort of trying to, tilt the conversation to favor the African economy, get us to be active players in the global franchise market, looking at the franchises from the asset perspective and no longer the consumer perspective. We are building the African franchise ecosystem at CEO Joint Board. We're working with the AFCTA, we're working with the Pan-African Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Now on the conversation, the AFBC, which is the African Business Council, are coming onto the conversation as well. And one of the gaps that prevented the economy from booming was the funding conversation. And we wanted ABAN to have front row seats into the opportunity to impact the continent through funding these franchises, but of course, to earn higher returns in these asset classes that are lower risk. So now we're saying to you that African franchising is no longer emerging. It is now established and it is high yield. The African franchise economy is emerging market, and the franchise asset itself has been established to produce high yield simply because the expansion strategy is to bring this product that is doing well in one city and spread it across several cities. Now we have an immediate opportunity for you to take advantage of, but I would like to take a question at this point or comment before we present the opportunity for you to take advantage of today. Okay, so let me see. I think we have somebody asking a question. All right. So, Favor, do we have any questions from anyone in the chat? And I still want to make sure that we are still being heard clearly. Thank you so much. So thank you, Isabella. So curious to see if franchising is an appropriate model even for small countries. Okay. I would like to know your definition of a small country, though. Okay, I think agrees. And then you also asked, where do you get the info about available opportunities? Great. So firstly, franchising is more focused on the vision. Okay, Gabon is a small country. All right, great. Now, what I would say to you is the franchise asset, right, focuses more on the vision of the entrepreneur than the size of the company. In fact, you are more exotic and attractive to the rest of the world as what you consider a small country. You will have products and services that the entire world doesn't have access to, and will most likely have products and services that are franchisable. So yes, it is something that can be done in what you consider a small country. What you need to focus on is that the entrepreneur or the business owner is ready to go through the process to become franchisable and take advantage of the global branding space, because franchising is so based on the strength of the brand. Now, you as an investor could say, my country is small, how can I benefit from franchising? Both. We can work with your entrepreneurs to encourage them to franchise out, and you can also bring in other cultures which you are not able to experience in your city into Gabon. And again, that franchise economy can be set up. So certainly it works for small countries. Now, the question you asked is, where can you take advantage of these franchise opportunities? Right here. That's why we're partnering with AVAN. We want to set up a franchise funding for Africa project. Okay, so a funding for African franchise projects. Sorry, with AVAN. It will mean that these opportunities and these asset classes are brought to you, right? And then you can decide which industry you want to explore, which of these entrepreneurs you want to work with. So all these opportunities will be brought to you in partnership with AVAN. Now we have an immediate opportunity that everyone who has gone through the masterclass and in the AVAN community can take advantage of in Cairo in April. So to explain that opportunity, I'm going to play a video. Let me stop sharing the slides now. And I'll go to the video so you can see some opportunity that you can take advantage of in Cairo. Let's watch this and we'll come back to take questions. I'm going to share it again just so you can make sure that the sound has been selected.
With Franex on the largest Africa Arab franchise exhibition on the continent. So this event is attracting over 200 international and Arab franchise brands with government agents. My friend Aber is coming to Africa, and she doesn't come alone. She's coming with 200 investors to bring FDI into the African economy. So this year, CEO Drawing Board 8.0 has partnered with Franex on the largest Africa Arab franchise exhibition on the continent. So this event is attracting over 200 international and Arab franchise brands with government agencies, investors, and entrepreneurs from 25 countries. What we did between CEO Drawing Board 1.0 and 6.0 was to set up the structures, the ecosystems, and the brands that will trade in this African franchise ecosystem. Today, in CEO Drawing Board 8.0, Franex is the first place we're going to be showcasing our African franchises to the GCC markets. It's holding in Cairo on the 8th to the 10th of April 2026. Listen, it's not one of those opportunities that come and are available every time. So what we've done to help every business owner prepare in Africa is to give you the opportunity to present your brands in a franchise model, bring it to the Africa Pavilion in Cairo, and also have a chain of investors and investment opportunities for you to grow into the Middle East. We're talking about Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar, Egypt, and obviously across Africa. We need to know you. We're calling on African franchise owner, everyone who owns a franchise in Africa. So if you own a franchise in Africa and we don't know you, this is exactly why we're doing this. We're attracting investors from Europe, from USA, and majorly from the GCC market. Madam Aber is somebody I respect so much, and the work she's done in the Saudi Arabian and GCC markets in the franchise ecosystem is simply amazing. So when Aber shows up on a continent, money has coming and prosperity will exchange. We're also looking forward to embracing investors who want to invest in brands that are coming from the GCC market and expand through that business model. Madam Aber, what do you think?
رئيس تنفيذي لشركة فرانشايز انترناشونال، أحد شركات الامتيازات الوطنية والمنظم الرسمي للمعرض المصري السعودي الدولي للامتياز التجاري فرانكس 2026. نفخر بالشراكة مع شركائنا في أفريقيا، وعلى رأسهم السيدة فونمي باجولاي، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة دروينج بورد. نفتح معا آفاق جديدة للتوسع بين أفريقيا والعالم العربي، ونجمع بين المستثمرين والعلامات التجارية نحو فرص حقيقية للنمو. نؤمن بأن أفريقيا تحمل إمكانيات هائلة في مجال الفرانشايز والاستثمار، ومن خلال شراكتنا مع شركة دروينج بورد ندعو جميع الشركات الأفريقية والعلامات التجارية والمستثمرين للانضمام إلينا في هذا الحدث.
This is just the beginning. CEO Drawing Board 8.0. We're going from one city to the other, showcasing our African brand. If you're interested, send us an email at franchise@acrglobal.com. See you in Cairo.
So, Fabrice, I hope that answers your question. All right. Thank you. I hope that answers your question as to where you can find these opportunities. Also, in the chat right now, we have a link to our page, solutions at acrglobal.co.board. You will see the opportunity to get access to our magazine, which gives you more information about what we're doing on the work on franchising on the continent. You'll also have the opportunity to register for...
My web builder saved me thousands of dollars, saved me a tremendous amount of time, and the experience was just excellent.
Build the website, publish the portfolio, launch the store. Just go for it. Go to Hostinia to turn one day into day.
So I'm told YouTube was still playing in the background. Let me put that on. Thank you, Isabella. That's why you have to have a team behind you while you're doing. Right. So our team that we're working with. So it's myself, Fumi Adedeji Bajulai. I'm the president of ACR. We also have Ayo Adegboye, who's a member of our board, and Dr. Sulaiman, who's no stranger to you at ABAN. He's also a member of our advisory board. What we're also offering within the ABAN community is for you to learn more about franchise development and expansion in an upcoming masterclass on the 28th of February. Once you register interest to attend Pirate, which you'll find on the link that we put in the chat, you'll be invited for this masterclass. So you can get more information about the work we're doing for franchises that are of African origin as an organization. I want to say thank you for this opportunity to share with the amazing investors that have come on this channel. I also want to know if there's any other area you would like me to address that has been a great area for you in franchising before we hand over to the lovely paper. So we have Pedro, Fabrice, Ramona, Ndita, Bola. I hope I got your name correctly. I'm asking if this has provided you enough information. Oh, Bernard, thank you for joining in. Rodriguez, thank you. Great presentation. We'll definitely have a lot to look at. Thank you so much, Fabrice. You're the one that has encouraged me the most in this conversation. Thank you so much. We have Ogechi as well. Okay, Rodrigo, this was information. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. So Isabella on our team, she's put the link in the chat, right? So you can click on the link now. You'll see more information. You most likely have questions, and these are different pockets of information that can provide solution for you. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you so much for coming on the chat today. I want to make sure that I capture everybody's response. This was very informative. Thank you. Second, I have something blocking. I need to know who said that so that I can thank you properly. Okay, Bernard. Rodrigo, this is information. Okay, thank you so much. So I think we've done a good 30 minutes of the conversation to present franchising as an asset class, especially from the African continent. And I'd like to thank ABAN for hosting us today in the conversation. Favor, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I enjoyed this session, and it was also very informative for me. And I'm glad that the guests also feel the same way. I don't know if there are any more questions that would like for me to answer. If not, would be saying goodbye for now. So I don't know if there are any other questions that would like to ask. Just checking the chats. Okay. Fumi, any other thing from your end?
Thank you, Fabrice. Thank you.
Any other thing from your end, Fumi?
No. I saw a clap from Fabrice, so I was saying thank you because he's made the effort to give feedback.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much for joining, and bye-bye for me.
Bye.